Okay, all rise. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mastrocola.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Tonight we have two students here actually representing a group of our female students who represented us at a conference in Boston
Okay, we're started.
titled Empowering Girls and Women Conference back in December. So I asked two of the students to come here, lead us in the pledge, and I'd like them, after that, to maybe sit down and just briefly summarize their experience and their experience with their colleagues. First coming up is Tiba. She's a junior from Lowell. I'm going to have them introduce themselves after. And Emily, a senior from Drake-It. Can Tiba and Emily please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Congratulations on doing that. Were you nervous?
We're going to do a roll call first and then let them speak? Is that what we're going to do?
Roll call first.
Okay. Okay. So before you ladies present to the board, we're just going to do a little shuffle of work here, okay? To be a moment. In accordance with 940 CMR 2910, remote participation adopted by Greater Lowell Tech School Committee April 17, 2014. Committeeman Curtis LeMay will be participating at tonight's meeting remotely due to geographic distance. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Gigi.
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare.
Yeah.
Mr. Sheehan.
Yes.
Mr. Moran.
Yeah.
Mr. Bahu.
Here.
Mr. Booton.
I'm here.
Mr. Tatsias. Mr. LeMay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mastrocola, you got a presentation?
Thank you. I'd like the students just briefly to talk about this conference. This was a conference that was probably one of the better women in leadership conferences in the country. It's held every December. We were lucky enough to be invited to go. Tiba and Emily and 10 other students went with Miss Bladis and Miss Harrison, Mr. Bladis and Mr. Harrison, down to Boston to the TD Garden and to represent our school and to talk about the leadership opportunities that face women today. Can you just share a little bit about your experience, summarize? It can be about a minute. That's good.
If you need a hand, let me
So
know.
we went to two conferences. The first one was a local one, and the second one was kind of further. And they were both really good. I think the second one was definitely more hands-on. Like, they had more options for you to do. And some of the women, like, that spoke, they spoke about their struggles as women in the working force. And it was just really inspiring to see how they handled themselves and how they took a more peaceful approach and like how they kind of moved themselves up slowly through their talents.
Well, that was less than 60 seconds.
It was really inspiring to like hear their stories and how they started off and how people didn't believe in what they did and what were they gonna do. The first one was a news reporter, and nobody believed that you could like be a news reporter, and she got fired, but then tried again, and now she's like really famous, and she has like her own cameras, and she goes to like different games and stuff, and it was really inspiring, and like not to give up on your dreams. Like, if you want to do something and people don't believe in you, like, you still like want to do it, like, then go ahead for it. Don't let people stop you. It was really inspiring.
Very nice. Great work. Thank you for doing that for us and leading that. Okay, Mr. Moran, has anybody signed up for public appearance?
No, Mr. Bahu.
Okay, great. And does anybody have any school committee communications before we hear from the student representative? No? Okay, and if we could hear the student report from the student representative, please?
The Outing Club recently took a trip to Vertical Dreams rock climbing gym. Students were able to learn skills like top roping, lead climbing, and bouldering. NTHS is running their Valentine's Day flower fundraiser. They will pre-sell carnations in the cafeteria starting on January 31st through February 14th and deliver flowers on Valentine's Day. They are also planning to host a food drive for the End 68 Hours of Hunger program in March. Skills USA in-house winners are gearing up for the district competition that will be held here at Greater Lowell on Thursday, March 14th. Students are meeting after school to prep for the competition. All in-house winners were recognized at our annual award ceremony in the lecture hall on February 7th. Greater Lowell students will be participating in the 18th annual Lowell Winterfest on Saturday, February 23rd in downtown Lowell. Our students will be volunteering to assist the Lola's Kids Party, downtown horse-drawn sleigh rides, the North Bowl soup competition, and outdoor ice games. The Senior Class Planning Committee is planning for a number of senior activities and getting ready to sell prom tickets at the end of March. The freshman and sophomore class are planning a spring trip to Chunky Cinema in Nashua to see the new Captain Marvel movie. Project Purple recently presented Hidden in Plain Sight to parents of incoming 8th graders. This display provides parents with clues from a teen's bedroom to help them determine whether their child might be experimenting with or using drugs or alcohol. They also have 2 students participating in a mass media project by working on creating a parody to send appropriate positive messages about substance abuse prevention. Now for some athletics. Both girls and boys basketball are having their usual successful seasons. The girls are currently 12-5 and the boys 15-4 as of February 14th. Additionally, both programs have had strong sub-varsity campaigns, with the JV boys looking to finish their season undefeated in the final game of the season on February 15th at Mystic Valley. The swim and dive team completed a tremendous regular season with second-place finishes for both the boys and girls team at the state vocational meet on January 31st. The team also qualified a number of athletes for the MIAA Division II state meets being held in the coming weeks. The Griffin Wrestlers recently had 7th-place winners at the MIAA Division II Regional on February 9th. These athletes will look to continue their success at the MIAA Division II State Meet on February 15th. In their second season of competition, the Griffin Winter Track Program continued to show signs of growth. The team had a number of athletes finish among the top in the league and will continue to compete at the upcoming MIAA Division II State Meets on February 15th. The winter cheer team will be competing on February 16th at the Lowell Catholic Invitational, as well as February 23rd in the Wilmington competition, in hopes of securing a spot at the Division I regional meet on March 3rd.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice night.
Can I just say, can I just add with the state now for a second? Let me just add this. I've gone to many of the games. I see you guys out there all the time, really. But this year was the worst year that I can remember. It was cold. You could dig a hole in the ground and you'd still be cold. And some people, like myself, moved away on some of those games, but you people worked all.
We were there on the cold nights, definitely.
Yes. Thank God you're indoors right now.
I know, yes, definitely.
You deserve a special award for that one, all right?
Thank you so
He
much.
was
Thank
under
you.
the parka.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda would be the approval of our minutes from January 10, 2019. If somebody would like to make a motion to approve, by Mr. Moran, seconded by Mr. O'Hare. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Okay. And then after that, we're going to have the report of our treasurer. If we could have a motion to waive the reading of the warrants by Mr. Booton, seconded by Mr. Gigi.
Yes.
Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Motion to approve the expenditures for the sum of $4,408,608.54. Motion by Mr. Sheehan to approve, seconded by Mr. O'Hare. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay? Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Okay, is there a report of our general counsel this evening? No report. Okay, thank you, Mr. Macaro. Report of the superintendent director?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Before I start, I want to recognize Amanda Roy, who's an English teacher in our district. She's observing tonight. She's going through her leadership program, and part of her leadership program is to shadow in myself and Ms. Davis to be able to learn about the different in and outs of administration with obviously school committee and these type of meetings being one of them. Welcome, Amanda. First item on the agenda is surplus equipment for vote. This is from the graphics department. It's an outdated piece of equipment. We were able to rebuy this as part of the advisory selections that we did back in October.
Okay, motion by Mr. Booton, seconded by Mr. Tatsias. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yeah.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the monthly co-op report. As you can see from the report, up slightly from last year. Still trying to deal with the kids that don't have licenses. I can tell you that one of the things that we're participating in is something called, that relates to this, is the Middlesex 3 Coalition. One of their initiatives is to provide bus service from downtown Lowell to Burlington, the mall area. It may help us with some of those culinary students that may be able to have placement down there. We're attending a meeting next week with this. I'll keep you updated as we move forward. I think that would help with the transportation piece. Thanks to Stacy Bazanson, continued hard work at the co-op department.
Excuse me, can I just ask one question on that? One of the things coming up is, working in a culinary area. Are we providing students over at the University of Lowell on this project? Someone mentioned that they were, and I didn't realize that they were, but what a facility that is. And then again, it's all different locations. But would someone check on that for me? Because I think we may, well, it sounds like that they're working over there also, which would be a plus for us.
Thanks, George. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, as we all know, we had a scheduled district accountability review from the state last week. It was a 3-day site visit. In relation to the site visit, before, in anticipation for it, as you all know, I've updated the committee and the general public. We prepared for it with a variety of different, multitude of documents that they required in anticipation of the visit. The visit went very well. They don't give us any formal results. They give us very, very informal results. Nothing on paper, just verbal. They visited 40 classrooms in our school. They met with a variety of different individuals, including myself for 2.5 hours, the assistant superintendent for 2.5 hours, a lot of the stakeholders, and also school committee members also. And thank you, Paul and George, for participating that day. They also met with a large parent group and obviously our staff. The process at this point is in about 3 to 4 months, we're told, we're going to get a report. The report is not evaluatory, so there are no recommendations we have to follow. There are guidelines that we should look at to improve our school around the content benchmarks, curriculum, and assessment, and student support. Those were the 3 that they measured. They measured those 3. When the report comes out, obviously I'll share it with the general public. Ms. Davis and myself had some activities planned with the staff at that time to review the document, to see how it fits into our mission and goals and how we can take some of the suggestions to continue to improve, but also to celebrate. And I anticipate a lot of good things that came out of it and be able to celebrate the good things that came out of the report. I want to thank our staff for an outstanding 3 days here. in participating with it, including our students, too. Many of our students met with the individuals. They had mentioned, the reviewers, how enlightened they were with some of the feedback that they got from the students. But I'd like to thank, obviously, Ms. Davis and Mr. Barton for their hard work, for a lot of the curriculum management and getting that ready. Obviously, our leadership team. I'd like to thank our staff, too. Our staff was outstanding during this process. The classrooms were active as usual. There were a lot of great things happening in our building. People were open to the reviewers, and we were proud that day, 3 days. So when the report comes out, I'll keep everybody updated on that, and we'll do something formal when that happens. Next on the agenda, I wanted to give you a brief update because we're trying to stick with that timeline that I had given everybody back in September. The school business administrator search is ongoing. We're in the meat of it. We are now in second interviews with finalists. There was one on Friday, one on Monday, one tomorrow. It's going extremely well. I believe we may be able to have, the search team may be able to make a recommendation to me, to make a recommendation to the full committee at our next meeting. I want to thank Mr. Moran, Mr. Gigi, Mr. Bahu for their time. As all of you have been on many, many search teams, it's a lot of time, and we appreciate it as a school district, the time that you give us to be able to go through these interviews, look at applications and such. So hopefully at our next meeting, I'll either give you an update of where we are, or we'll have a candidate in front of you for recommendation. Last item, we were informed, and there's a memo attached from the governor and lieutenant governor, that we were the recipients of a history and social study planning and implementation grant, 3770. You might say this is a small amount of money. It is a small amount of money per se, but 105 people applied for it, 33 people were selected. The gist of this program is to help rewrite the next civics curriculum, which is going to be pretty prominent in social studies curriculum in high schools in the upcoming years. It's more of an honor to be able to get selected, our school, for this grant. So we're at the planning table for this curriculum. Again, 105 applied, 33. We're one of the 33. We're able to get it, and I'm real proud of our staff, especially, going forward with this. So I'll keep you updated on this also. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. That was a very great, very nice report, and it covered a lot of ground. Next on the agenda would be the report of our business manager, Mr. Garabedian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. All right, the first item I have before you is the food service management contract. As you know, the district went out for a request for proposals, which were due in mid-December. We had some interest from other companies, however, only Aramark submitted a proposal. They've been in the district for approximately 20 years now. They've done a great job with providing quality food, selection, and service to the students, and I believe it's in the best interest of the district if the school committee could approve this contract. This will be a one-year contract with 4 annual renewals.
Okay, so they're the only people that bid?
Yes.
And this is a one-year contract with 4 possible options for renewal?
That's correct.
Annually, okay. Motion by Mr. Booton to approve?
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Moran. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias? Mr. Lemay?
Mr. Bahu,
Yes.
just for the record, I'd like to say, Aramark, especially having a child that went here, and hearing what other students are eating at their schools, does a fabulous job at our school. The selection our kids have, the options, the healthy options, if they run out of chicken Caesar salads, the next day they're going to have 5 or 10 extras. So they've done a fabulous job.
Okay, and while we're on the Aramark contract with us. I know that we have a couple of reps here, so why don't we sort of have them come to the table, maybe discuss a few things that they do for us here at Greater Lowell Tech, and make us even prouder of the outstanding work they do.
Debbie Petra is the food service director. Jay
Gustitis.
I was going to try that one again.
I didn't realize.
It's a regional director.
Good evening. Thank you for the confidence in your vote. Thank you very much for your kind words. Debbie has had the distinguished pleasure of leading this program for the last 4 years, and has a phenomenal group of employees that work with her to provide the service to the school. So we take great pride in the amount of variety, the quality, the healthy options, et cetera, that are put out every day. And it's just really gratifying to see that is recognized not only by adults, but by students as well. So thank you for your words.
I didn't realize you were here, but to compliment you, one of the things you mentioned, your staff is amazing. Watching them interact with the students, they care about the students, they know their names a lot of the times. It's almost like a true family part, that the kids feel great. So that part is important too, not just the quality of the food, but how it's served, how the students are treated. It's very professional and very nice, so thank you for doing that. That's on you.
Pass that information along to them. They're a great group of
Please do.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate you coming and
Thank you.
sharing a little bit about what you do for us.
Thank you. All right, the next item on my list is, as we've spoken to before, the district is in its third and final year of our bus contract with North Reading Transportation. In our current contract, we have the option for 2 annual renewals, based on the Consumer Price Index, which comes out in December. Based on meetings with the superintendent and the bus company, this increase over the current year's contract would be about $69,000, a 3.2% increase, and we're basically, we think it's in the best interest to renew the contract for a year. And if so, we'd need a vote by the committee.
Okay, motion to approve. Oh, a question by Mr. Moran?
I know when the representative was here the last time for the bus, we talked about fuel.
Yep.
If the fuel goes down,
Yep.
it's possible there'll be a rebate or something.
Yeah, there's a fuel adjustment clause. It goes both ways. So if
Yeah.
the price is creeping up, the way the wording, the terms has a kick-in clause. If it goes down below a certain level, then we would reap the benefit.
Right.
We're not at that stage. We were a few years back. At this point, we're paying small adjustment fees right now, but
All right.
we're keeping an eye on it.
Mr. Booton?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Seconded by Mr. Sheehan. Just want to make one statement about that, just for clarification. Looks like there's a 3-year contract with 2 optional years for us to go ahead and vote on. Is
We're
that
in the
correct?
third year right
We're
now.
just completing the
So
third year?
we're voting on the first renewal year.
It's the 4th year.
Yeah.
The 4th year.
Just-
Okay,
yeah.
terrific. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias? Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Next item is asking your approval for some transfers totaling $274,568.
Okay, any questions? Okay, motion
Motion to
to approve by Mr. Booton, seconded by Mr. Moran. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yeah.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Next, we have, on February 7th, we had a note sale for $1.5 million
Okay.
for renewal, and we have the necessary votes to be approved by the committee in order to get this deal done.
Okay?
Motion to approve, voted to approve the sale of $1,500,000 at 2.5% general obligation bond anticipation note, the note of the district dated February 22nd, 2019, and payable September 27th, 2019, to Eastern Bank at par and accrued interest, if any, plus a premium of $4,515. Further voted that in the connection with the marketing and sale of the note, the preparation and distribution of a distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated January 30th, 2019, and a final official statement dated February 7th, 2019, each in such form as may be approved by the district treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further voted that the district treasurer and the vice chair of the committee be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a significant events disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such forms as may be approved by bond counsel to the district, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the note for the benefit of the holders of the note from time to time. Further voted that we authorize and direct the business administrator to establish post-insurance federal tax compliance procedures in such form as the business administrator and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax-exempt status of the note. Further voted that each member of the committee, the district secretary, the district treasurer, be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes.
Second on that motion? Second by Mr. Lemay. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Thank you. That was a mouthful.
Yes, sir.
Then the next item is, relates to our cafeteria fund. This had been something that had been discussed over the past several months. DESE guidelines for our lunch program recommend that the balance in the cafeteria fund be no greater than like 3 months of the average costs. So for our district, that would be about $300,000 as a, our lunch account is twice that amount right now, from just due to profits over the years that are growing, and the fact that we weren't buying any equipment because we had the new capital project going on. Well, the previous school business administrator and the superintendent had discussed and talked to the Department of Revenue and DESE about charging the cost of the equipment in the cafeteria to the fund, to the cafeteria fund, and which would in effect, in this case, it's $176,744. So we're looking to transfer the charge to the cafeteria fund and credit back the general fund for that same amount. And this amount would be passed on to the member communities through the fourth quarter assessment adjustment for this fiscal year. The rationale behind that is that they incurred the debt service to pay for their share of the project, and this is in fact going back to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions about that? Okay, let's do a roll call.
We need a motion.
Oh, let's have a motion to approve
The
by
transfer,
Mr. Gigi,
yeah.
seconded by Mr. Booton. Roll call.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
And my last piece is just to give you an update on the OPEB status. Per the school committee's vote back in December, a school committee member is going to be selected by the school committee to serve on the trust as a trustee. A vote should be taken at some point, either this meeting or March meeting, to identify that person. Just bringing that out as information. As far as the other trustees, we had a ballot in January, on January 31st, for the employee representative for the trust. Two people had asked to be on the ballot, Brian Jones and Cheryl Baumel. The result of the vote was a tie, and so a tiebreaker was a flip of a coin, and Cheryl Baumel was the winner. So she's the employee representative. The retiree member, that process is still going on. We sent out ballots. We had 4 individuals, retirees, that wanted to be on the ballot. Ballots were mailed out to all the retirees, and they're due back the end of this month. So we get quite a few returned already, which is a good sign.
Okay, thank you for that. I believe we're going to be voting for our new chairman in the March meeting, so maybe the school committee can put on the agenda to vote for the OPEB trustee as well.
I think that's a great idea.
That's it. I believe that's it.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you very
report.
much.
Thank you. Mr. Garabedian.
I thought the new guy got that automatically.
Whatever, Booten, whatever you want to do, buddy.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
You're too easy, Matt.
Okay, next on the agenda is old business. Would anybody like to discuss any issues that have come up on business? Mr. O'Hare.
Keeps talking.
Yeah, one of the things under old business that has really hasn't moved in a long time. And basically, they were, well, 2 of the items that are listed on the outstanding items from previous from previous meetings. One of which was the Athletic Hall of Fame, and the other was the Superintendent's Wall. It seems to be everything is at a standstill on those 2 items. And I know people have called me and asked what is happening. I said, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I thought something was going to be moving, but this has gone a long period of time. So I think we ought to generate this, and trying to get this out of the way. They're very simple things. I think one time we had blacks and whatever moved to a different location where they were going to relocate it in the building, but that never came to fruition. On another one, it was the big glass wall, same situation, but it never came in under to fruition, and whether we were going to do Athletic Hall of Famers currently, because we haven't done that in a long period of time. These items have been sitting for over 2 years in our book, and I think we should continue that and move with that. The other item was pretty much the same thing. It was the Superintendent's Wall. There was issues on that. Superintendent's Wall is the wall that's as you walk in downstairs.
Mr. O'Hare, could I just interrupt you for
Yes,
1
you
second?
can.
I think the first thing you're discussing is the Athletic Hall of Fame.
That's correct.
So my question to you becomes, are you looking to remove this?
No, I'm
or are you
looking for
to
some
sort of
action.
Begin to,
And I don't know what happened on this. We've gone through a couple of new administrators, et cetera, and different people that took over. I thought maybe something was working on it, but only to find out that it's just sitting there.
and I have been in contact with the Greater Lowell Foundation, who runs our scholarship fund and who does fundraisers for the golf tournament and such like that.
Yeah.
And I believe that they shared with me that they're trying to have a fundraiser for this Athletic Hall of Fame and begin to move this forward, just to give you that information.
Well, that sounds kind of exciting, and if I remember right, when I was first on the committee, they had many of these functions that were held at the Elks or whatever, just recognizing who was the inductee to the Hall of Fame. But when we say that, who is going to handle the the bottle? Who is going to handle the show? You know, I read that, nothing has really come out of it. And it's,
And I understand that.
you brought that up with somebody, and is somebody going to be, a foundation is going to,
Have a
Determine-
fundraiser and begin to move on our athletic Hall of Fame.
yeah, but the foundation is not necessarily all graduates of Greater Lowell High School.
That's correct, but they're looking to run a fundraiser for it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be on the Hall of Fame, they're just
Okay, so
trying to move it forward.
Somehow,
as you're
somehow
asking.
in this, there'll be a committee that will be active in the next month or so that we can get to that level of the excitement and everything of recognizing those people that were Hall of Famers.
Sure, and a month comes
Okay.
fairly quickly, so why don't we just, for the sake of argument, call it 60 days?
Okay, and those are going to be outsiders, insiders. When I say outsiders, insiders, people within the system, people within some of the agencies that helped us in the past, they'll all be,
A
okay.
broad spectrum of people.
Yeah. Second item is the superintendent's wall.
Okay, thank you.
The second, the superintendent's wall, which was, a lot of research was done on that. And I always use the example of when a mayor comes into Lowell or leaves Lowell as the city manager or whatever, they always do a picture of something for him. And many of the older pictures, because there's so many in that organization, have been moved to a place in the building, so that nothing is damaged. But I don't see anything happen here also. I think there's some people would, and let me be fair on this, there wasn't, there's only one person that's listed on our Wall of Fame right now, the superintendent wall right now. None of the others are on that. Now, partially because many of those people can't be reached, many of those people are no longer with us, but I think that has to be addressed again, and we could do that relatively quick.
Okay, we have a,
Now, having said that, too, also, the money for that, part of that was picked up by members of the committee. And I think most of the other was strictly from, funds to raise. But I think right now, I guess it doesn't seem like there's a lot of activity. And I think we should,
and I think one of our committee members may have some information on it. Mr. Booton, you have your hand raised?
I did. I mentioned it to the superintendent about a month or so back. I'd like to ask in front of the committee, Mr. Superintendent, can you find us a place that you think it may be appropriate to put up the superintendents? It may not be as grandiose as it's been done in the past with each person having a different day. My thoughts and ideas were that we put up all the superintendents, we have one gathering to honor them if they can make it to it. That's great, as Mr. O'Hare had said, some of them aren't with us, some of them can't make it, but at least to show some respect to the former superintendents, that we find a place that we can put it up sometime in the spring, probably wouldn't be spring, but in the fall, have just a recognition ceremony for all of them, invite them to it, and then going forward, we can keep up with it, because we seem to be falling further and further behind, and I think this could help us. Okay?
well,
Thank you.
Thank you for your input. I appreciate that, Mr. Booton.
just to continue on that.
Mr. O'Hare?
And that's very nice, what you just said. We have people that are still alive, and we have more that aren't alive. So I don't know whether we're going to, it's all different things, and if we're thinking pretty much as the starter was downstairs, will continue and grow, that's fine, I
The
don't think,
superintendent can give us a couple of options, and then we can discuss it as a board of the location.
well, you have a location, and there's plenty of space there. It's just that no one did anything to, get together and put those plaques up on the wall.
Okay?
The only one right now is former superintendent, the third superintendent. Right there, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. O'Hare.
So
Mr. Tatsias?
what'd you say, a committee is going to be formed, or?
Well,
some
let's
action?
just hear what the whole, board has to say, and
Oh,
then I'm sure we'll come up with a good plan for ourselves.
You know the number of superintendents we've had total?
Yeah.
Does
Well, I
that
mean,
include interim superintendents?
well, see, that's another thing. I don't think you do interim superintendents because, but those that, starting with Bob Reeder, and you go right down to the next person died in office, Bill Collins took over, and it just goes on, and. But yes, we can find that out easy.
Can we get a list at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get a
I'll
list at the next meeting?
I'll find that out.
Okay, so
We'd
let's
have
get,
to leave space for future
right.
superintendents, so they have to be a spot big enough.
Well,
So let's get a list at the next meeting of who these superintendents are that would like the name, and then at the next meeting, we'll develop a subcommittee from this committee as a whole, from a subcommittee to go ahead and develop and begin to move and progress on this superintendent's wall, and try to earmark a certain date to establish it, as well as have a grand ceremony, as Mr. Booton had recommended. And I
Yeah.
think that would satisfy that need.
yeah, well, it's not an easy task to.
It's not an easy
Yeah.
task, but, we've done a lot of work here together as a board, and I'm
Yep.
sure we could satisfy
Let me just
that.
ask, I may have missed this, though, but you mentioned on the Athletic Hall of Fame, who was going to make those decisions?
The foundation.
Right now, we're working with the Lowell Tech
Foundation?
Foundation.
Mike Lindsay was talking about taking it over as part of the umbrella of the foundation.
Oh, okay.
Turning it into a fundraiser.
Yeah, but a lot of those people that are going to the foundation, do they know who some of the candidates would be?
Well, let's begin to work on
okay,
that.
good.
That
You know,
would be up to them.
The good news is the ball is rolling. Thank you
Good,
for bringing
good.
that up. Does anybody have any other thing to say about anything that's sitting under old business?
No.
Okay. Under new business, I'd like to put on the agenda the reestablishment of the Facilities Naming Committee. So it seems to me like we haven't named something after someone that may have worked here tirelessly for many years, that may want to be considered for a certain naming right. So I'd like to go ahead and, with your approval, reestablish the Facilities Naming Committee. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Let me,
Okay.
can I ask one question on
Of
that?
course you can.
Name one, I can't, I may not be doing this right, but I don't remember anybody falling into that category, that we name people
Sure.
that weren't superintendents.
Right, and I think Mr. Mastercola might have some more information.
Yeah, the naming committee it's actually a policy set up by this school committee to, when there's a request to name part of the building after somebody, it has to go through a process. The process is going through a committee. The committee has not been established, or it's been defunct for a few years, so I think the best way is to have the committee vote to reestablish it under your own policy. There's guidelines there. There's much work I have to do. I have to name about 8 people to the committee, and then the school committee has to name a few people and let them sit together. There are 2 outstanding recommendations for naming, so it probably is in best interest to have the naming committee start to take that up and discuss it. So first establishing it, and then let them do their job. So I think it's good to put on the next agenda. Let's get the ball rolling on this, and let's see if we can get the naming committee set up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, under new business, looks like there's no items. I'm sorry, that was it? The naming committee was under new.
We do have there's a revised
Oh, yeah,
agenda.
right, okay, and of course, the revised agenda. Which under new business is the discussion of the superintendent contract extension. I think we're going to move this to the March meeting and take that up then. So we'll just remove this from the agenda for the time being. Committee person motions, there are none this evening. And if somebody could approve the report of the subcommittee of our Finance Subcommittee on February 7th.
Do we have any minutes?
That was just in case you want to give an update.
Okay. Well,
I didn't see any minute, I didn't get them, so.
It's not to approve the minutes, it was just if Mr. Bahu wants to give an update.
Oh,
okay. We had a meeting of the Finance Subcommittee on February 7th. We had discussed what we have earmarked for goals and recommendations by our superintendent, our business manager, and this school committee as a whole. And this is an ongoing work. So as we have another financial subcommittee, by the way, on March 5th at 5 p.m. for anyone that would like to attend via school committee, or could anyone from the public may want to attend as well, so that we can begin to finalize all the goals and direction of our school in the next upcoming year. Mr. Booton.
I just had two quick questions. The updated sheet that was given out tonight, Mr. Moran had made the request about repaving the loop at the bottom, and there was supposed to be a quote. They prepared, Director of Plant Service prepared a quote.
Yeah,
Is he gonna?
is preparing a quote.
Oh, he's preparing it. I thought he prepared it.
And we're anticipating we're gonna get the project done by June 1st.
But does he have a number? It says here, Services has prepared a quote. I was wondering how much it was gonna be.
No, we don't know that yet, but we anticipate we're gonna be able to get it done by June 1st.
He developed the specifications.
So you're gonna put out an RFP for it?
Well, yeah, to go out
Okay.
and solicit quotes, yep.
Gotcha, okay. Last question was the additional 2/5 SRO position. I think it's fantastic. So thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for doing that so quickly since our last meeting, and the good news that came back with it. So, thank you.
Great. Finally, Mr. Booton.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Booton, seconded by Mr. O'Hare.
Howdy, you guys.
Thank you.
Howdy, you guys, tonight.
I hope your wife's happy.
It's got nothing to do with that. I'm just proud of these guys.
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay? Mr. Lemay?
Curtis, you there? I don't think.